Hi, my name is Mike Saylor and I run a boxing newsletter focused around partner drills, and each week I do my best to answer questions so you could build partner drills too. And so this week, YouTube handled Asian Sweetboy said, the square jab looks like a terrible idea, squared, off balance, and won't be able to follow up with an effective cross. So I thought we'd explore this question around my idea of the square jab and see if I could bring a little more clarity around it. And so to recap, my definition of a square jab is bringing my head and weight over my lead foot, then fold out my lead arm horizontally. And the squared part just describes my hips and shoulders. They're square to my opponent. And when defining the jab, I'm just folding it out horizontally. Now, since I folded out my arm, my head and weight will end up over my lead foot, and that piece is important. So for comparison, if I turned over my arm, I consider it a cross. And if you notice, with a cross, my head and weight would end up over my rear foot. Okay, now let's just get into why we would do this. So after I throw my jab, again, just folding it out, my head and weight is still over this lead foot, but then I can immediately follow up with my rear straight. And that right there is the key takeaway, because I'm squared over this lead foot, which means my rear hand is going to get to my target sooner than, say, a bladed jab straight. And here's the reason why. If I was bladed, notice when I fold out my jab, my head and weight is towards my rear foot. So that means when I throw my rear straight, my head and weight still needs to travel from my rear foot to my lead foot, meaning it's going to take more time than if I threw it off of my lead foot. Hope that idea sunk in. Now there's a trade-off. Throwing your rear hand off your lead foot means you're not generating as much power than if you threw it from your rear foot. So just like everything, there's pros and cons. But another reason for the square jab, which is what I love, is sets up all your counters off of that lead foot. Now, in that last video, I added a rear foot step up in addition to that square jab. So let's do that. I'm going to bring my head and weight from my rear foot to my lead foot, do a rear foot step up, fold out my jab. Now in this very next beat, I'm looking for my opponent to attack my lead foot, because when they do, I have my lead foot counters ready to go. So that means I could throw a check hook, or another idea, I could leave that lead foot without the check hook, pulling bladed, and then come back with a rear straight. Or I could pull square, again follow up with a rear straight, or I could drop 45 and come back with a rear uppercut. So those are some of the options you would have available if you end with your head over your lead foot. Oh, and one more thing to mention about this rear foot step up, because your view is linear. Let's say you're orthodox and you want to circle to the left. Well, you're most likely doing a rear foot step out without even realizing it. So check this out. My weight is on my rear foot. I'm going to step left and bring my head and weight over my lead foot. And now I'm going to swing this rear foot around, circling my opponent. And right here, whether you know it or not, when you swing this rear foot around, you might be doing a rear foot step up right here. Bringing that rear foot a little bit closer so you could push off that rear foot, step with this lead foot, and fire out that jab. And once again, keeping your head and weight over that lead foot.